Blast off. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of People Who Make Things, where I interview people in the industrial automation and manufacturing industry of how they make things or make things happen. And today I'm super excited to chat with my guest because accessibility in education is something that I am deeply passionate about. And so, with that, I will introduce you to today's guest, Annabelle Haley, the Educational Engagement Program Manager at Inductive Automation.
Woo!
Hi,
Yay!
Annabelle. I'm so
Hi,
happy you're here.
hi, Christine. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, let's get into things. Speaking of education, what is your background and how did you get here?
Yeah, good question. So I actually have a background in English. I got my degree in English, so very, I don't know, coincidental that I ended up at a software company, like in a more technical kind of role. So I started way back when I was going to school. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an English teacher at a community college. So I was going to school for English. I got my bachelor's, and then I was working on my master's degree. And I was about halfway through that when COVID hit and I had a baby. So my plans had to shift. So then instead of pursuing my master's, I got a job in insurance, ultimately left that, ended up at our or one of our partnered integration companies, NorCal Controls, over in El Dorado Hills, just right next door to Folsom. And so I was working there for a while doing proposals, and I knew about Ignition, inductive automation, because we worked with Ignition all the time. And then I ended up getting a job here when I was looking for a change from there. So, yeah, not at all a background in automation, engineering, nothing like that.
So, educational engagement program. In my head, I'm like, eep, every time I see it. So, what really is that? Because I think it is something that I'm very proud about, or yeah, proud about at inductive automation, but not many people may know about it beyond, like people who take advantage of the program. So, what is the educational engagement program? What is the goal of EEP?
So it's a program that we have here at Inductive Automation. We donate software to schools, educational organizations, totally free of charge for students to use Ignition in a variety of different educational use cases. From the CyberForce competition that you just attended back in November, that's not a traditional educational use case. It's not like students are learning it in a classroom setting, but the CyberForce competition uses Ignition as one of the softwares for the students to work on during the course of the competition. So we support like a variety of different educational use cases with licensing, resources, calls with sales engineering, free course certification tests. We offer a ton of different benefits. So if there's any educational organizations listening, faculty, students, whomever, happy to talk to you if you want to use Ignition. I have students that reach out specifically, which I love talking to them about how they want to use Ignition because I'm just so proud of like what a self-starter they are. They're just emailing me like, "Ooh, I want to use it for this, student project that I have." And I just think that's really cool because I never would have done that as a student. I was not that motivated. So I think it's great.
So, can you explain what CyberForce competition is and also how they utilize Ignition for what they were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the CyberForce competition is a competition. It's a collegiate competition. I think over like 100 teams from various colleges around the country. They all get together in Illinois, outside of Chicago, is where it's based, and they do like a cyber hacking competition for I think 2 or 3 days. So there's green teams that are defending, I believe. There's red teams that are attacking. So essentially, the students are hardening the system and they're defending against cyber attacks and various different. There's a specific term that they have for it, and I think that they used inductive automation for the what is it, like a challenge, or do you know what term I'm talking about?
Yeah, so oh my gosh, I actually have something that I want to show you. Now that we're on the subject of CyberForce. They let me keep this because
Oh,
it was a sign that they made for like our booth, but also we had an anomaly. So they call
anomaly.
those
That's
things,
it. Yep.
yes. So it was something, Yay, co-branding. It was something that one of their team members, Kohler, actually whipped up very quickly. It was a very small thing, but it was bite-sized enough that the students who had no idea what ignition was able to like read about it, get used to the UI a little bit, and then solve the anomaly, which is just like a small challenge or like a puzzle. And so that was like a really fun like part that we were able to do. So what I did for that anomaly, I think it was anomaly 30, 31, 32. Wait, I forgot the number, sorry. But the students would come to our table, which we had laptops with the challenge up, and they had to essentially, fix bindings and figure out what's wrong with the bindings and stuff like that. Just by looking at the tags available for them, as well as the bindings, and then fix it and make sure the HMI was supposed to be working as intended. And I would give them the answer code, which was super fun.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of walking and running around, just like in
Yeah.
between like stations. But no, that was really fun. And just overall, in general, too, for the challenge, the overall challenge itself, for the competition, Ignition was utilized as the HMI of choice for them to like see the system.
It was
Sorry,
a
I
yeah, oil and gas this year. Yeah. So
the rig.
it's sponsored by the Department of Energy. So last year, I believe it was solar, some sort of, or no, I think
Yes.
it was wind actually. I think last year was a wind farm, and then this year's oil and gas. And so yeah, that they play a big role in it. Argonne Laboratories, just to give some background on how we got involved, is they reached out a couple years ago and were like, "Oh, we're just using like a free SCADA software, open source, but we want something better. Can we talk about how you can help?" And then we're like, "Of course, let's give you some software." So got them set up with software, and then yeah, they've been using Ignition. We've been sponsors of that event for a couple years now, which is great. And I'm super happy. Last year we sent Nathan from sales engineering just to kind of scope it out and make sure it was something we wanted to invest more time and resources in. And then this year we invited you and Ryan and Chase, which was awesome. So I'm super happy you guys
Yeah.
went.
I know like some students, it was their first time interacting with Ignition, but not only Ignition, but just in
Mm-hmm.
like ICS system in general. But they found like that it was really cool and really fun to interact with and like intuitive, etc. So I've had a lot of students come up to me like, yeah, this was like the after solving the anomaly, they're like, yeah, this was super fun. Like I didn't know what Ignition was until like CyberForce, but now I want to learn more.
Yeah.
So you answered my question a little bit, which was the next one. Does EEP only serve universities? Apparently not.
No, community colleges, yeah, demo centers, training facilities, as long as it meets our requirements. And usually, what I'll do is I'll have like an introduction call with whoever wants to talk about it, and we just walk through the program benefits, requirements, that sort of thing. But yeah, definitely does not need to just be like a 4-year university or anything like that.
I kind of stumbled into this industry without meaning to, but it would have been so nice if I was aware of this program around the time that, I was a student, and just being exposed to the fact that, industrial automation and manufacturing utilizes a lot of computer science nowadays, a lot of scripting, a lot of and now that I'm in it, I know that, but when I was a student, I had no idea that like computer science, coding, software engineering would do anything in, I don't know, I'll be honest, I wasn't even aware that industrial automation was kind of an avenue to get into as, a software engineering, computer science student. So I love the fact that we have a program that also dedicates our resources to the next generation, the education of next generation and beyond, um, free of charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do career fairs down. I go to Cal Poly usually once or twice a year, and it's for computer science, software engineering students. And I'm like, hey, do you know about ignition, automation software? Have you given it any thought? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Like, that's not even something that there is in the realm of, possibilities for them. So I think it's super important to educate them on those options. And again, the CyberForce competition, I've had a ton of students reach out after that competition, and
Good.
yes, yes. So you did your job, and they're emailing me saying, "Hey, I didn't realize like ignition was a thing. I didn't realize it was going to be such a big tool for this competition. I want to learn more about industrial control systems. Like this is something that I wasn't even studying before, but now I want to." So, yeah, it's super important.
That especially was fascinating to me because, cybersecurity is not something that people usually think about when it comes to manufacturing and industrial automation. I mean, it is a very critical piece, do not get me wrong, but the cybersecurity in like layman's thoughts and like visuals, I don't know, like examples is like, am I allowed to say brand? Like things like that where it's like a lot more IT level. Um, but going there, interacting with these very intelligent, oh my goodness, very intelligent students, also faculty members, and also the Argon Lab team members and volunteers, they were all amazing. But it was such an eye-opening thing to me too. I learned a lot going to that competition just from the students and just the fact that ignition was utilized in such a meaningful way in the competition, and I loved the to seeing the like passion of the students who came up and talked to us, and also students and faculties that I went up to question, interrogate, but like ask them questions and learn more about what they do and what they're learning and stuff like that. So, thank you for having me go out there. It was such a great time.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
That's just the rest of the podcast is us thanking each
It's just
other.
thank yous back and forth. But so you work with the next generation of engineers and innovators as well as their mentors. Have you noticed any trends or any themes that are emerging with the students and what they're asking, like what they want to learn or achieve with ignition, etc.?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, like the self-starter aspect of a lot of the students where they're reaching out to me on their own accord. They're like, I want to use Ignition for my project, even if they're learning it from the ground up. But yeah, it's just remarkable what students can do with it. I know we did a case study with Monash High-Powered Rocketry Team not too long ago. That's from Monash University in Australia. That was a great one where they're using Ignition for like all of their rocket operations. And it's cool because rockets, like I didn't even know Ignition could be used for that. There's been quite a few. There was one that I was just reflecting back on today where someone reached out for their capstone project, and they did like an animatronic dinosaur thing, and they did it all T-Rex,
Whoa.
Jurassic Park themed. It was very cool, and so they sent over screenshots from that, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I just love seeing the creativity because I feel like going back to your point about whimsy, like they have such whimsy because the world is full of possibilities, right? They're not
Mhm.
jaded. They're not in the same job for 20 years. Like they still have hope and dreams. As depressing as that sounds, but it's not, right? Like we just kind of get in a routine and we become adults and we have kids and we just like fall into our routine. But I don't know. There's just something very like untapped about students that I enjoy seeing what they put together.
So I have a question about, the educational entities that you've interacted with. Is it usually the people are aware of it and they want to use it, or is it just like, what is this?
Yeah, I would say it's like maybe 50-50. A lot of times also we'll have companies, they'll have like an industrial advisory board at the college.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they'll have integrators or some of our end users communicate like, this is what our company's using. If you want your students to be equipped to get jobs at our company, this is what you should be teaching your students, which is my favorite because then if we get those companies on the call, it's like I don't even need to convince them the value of Ignition because they have the future employers for their students right there that's convincing them of that value. So that's part of it. And usually in those cases, they don't know much about ignition. And so we have
Hmm.
to kind of start from scratch. But then we also have a lot of faculty members who know about ignition. They might work in the integration space or have worked in the integration space, you know, in a previous life. So I would say about half the time they know what ignition is, or you know of it well enough.
I didn't even think about the like industry board, advisory boards.
Sometimes I'll talk to colleges and they don't have it, and what I'll do is I'll just go to our Find an Integrator lookup tool on our website, and I'll say, well, where are you located? Let's look at integrators around you. We can start building that network. You know, maybe they want to act in an advisory capacity. So really just kind of directing them towards companies that use Ignition, so then they have some sort of like connection to industry. So they're not just like, what do we do now? We got the software, we're using it, but like, is this of any value to us and our students? So
It's really impressive to come into an interview already knowing the tool, having using it, having an actual project built from it or experience built from it, and yeah, being able to show off that expertise that, hey, I am a graduating student, but I already have this experience that I can just utilize.
yeah, companies look at that as a way to save money because they don't need to spend 2, 3, 4 weeks training them on ignition. They already know it, you know? So anytime I talk to students or professors, I am like, go to Inductive University, get your credential. If you do that, you qualify for the free test we offer students. So there's a lot of like, there's a big push for just getting them more and more equipped because it ultimately helps our ecosystem, like we like to call it. Like it helps the integrators and the end users. So and the motivated students, they do it. You know, there's a lot of students that get their core certification while they're still in school, which is great to see.
So, what are some exciting moments from your time in this role? Like any exciting things that a university or educational entity has done, or something that you personally experienced that you can talk about?
So the most recent one, and this is something I was just working on before jumping into this call, is the Student Build-a-thon that we did last year. That was, you know, I kind of led that project after we got it off the ground. Like Dave Gressemeyer, my manager, it was his baby. He started it, and then I took it, and we had the first Student Build-a-thon last year, which was great. But it was a lot of work, you know, to get that all set up. And then the students, they built a project in Ignition over the course of like 72 hours. It was an automated fast food restaurant, which was really fun. Shout out again to sales engineering, Reese Tyson, Mara Pilat, is that how you pronounce her last name? Derek Saunders, like they all were super helpful while we were doing the Student Build-a-thon, helping with the spec documents and judging and all of that good stuff. So that was great. And then now we're doing it again this year, which is very exciting. I know the students really enjoyed the challenge. And again, just seeing what they can build is always fun. And we brought the student team that won out to ICC last year, which was really cool. So I got to speak to them in person. They were featured in the main Build-a-thon event. It was just really cool to kind of get them that industry experience, bringing them to the conference, letting them see like how big Ignition is. And, you know, it was a great year to do it because it was our level up theme where we were in the convention center. So it was like, oh, this is a big event. You learned Ignition for a reason. All these companies are using it, you know, like the world is your oyster. So, yeah, I really liked that. I really liked seeing what the students built, meeting them, all of that stuff. That felt very good. So I would say that was probably one of the most exciting. But then there are other things like when I see some of the research people are doing with Ignition, because we do support educational research projects as well.
Mm.
So sometimes it'll be really important, like close to home issues like wildfire mitigation. You know, living
Oh,
in
wow.
California, it's like wildfires are a big thing. So people are doing research on wildfire mitigation, how to use like weather systems to alert, you know, different communities via Ignition. And there's just a lot of things you can do, which is really cool to see.
You know, I before coming to inductive automation, actually, I was an integrator, and while I learned and experienced a lot of things, I only experienced the like integration piece of Ignition, what it's used in like food and beverage manufacturing mostly. And coming into inductive automation, I was exposed to so many different things and applications that Ignition is used in.
Hmm.
Like all I remembered was actuating valves and running motors and recipe and batching, but it can do anything. that you put your mind to.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to hear that people are like utilizing ignition to for greater good, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, another one that always makes me cry when I watch the video is the Hebron IT Academy slash Hebron Soft video where they were using Ignition to integrate with prosthetic arms for veterans who lost their limbs in the war in Ukraine. Like, it's really intense. And when you speak to Lilia at Hebron Soft, like, it's a whole nother world that we don't even see because we're living here, and it's really cool to see that students put that together.
Yes.
Shout out to Hebron Soft and Hebron IT Academy. They're great, and they're when I talk about students getting course certified while they're still in school, that they're a good portion of them, the students over at
Wow.
Hebron IT Academy, which is very cool.
It was a moment for me in my career where it's like, I'm doing something, like I'm working at a pretty like good company.
It just makes you feel like, okay, I'm doing something that at least betters, helps the world in some way. I'm not negatively impacting the world at the very least. Like, I'm working for a positive company, I'm doing a positive thing, like, and seeing those success stories, like, ugh, it's so, yeah, it helps me too because I'm very much same with you. Like, I want to do something where I feel like I'm doing something positive. When I was working in insurance, it was health insurance. I was doing like benefits, and I was just like, this is not what I want to be doing. I don't feel like I'm working in a positive environment. Like, I don't think I'm making positive changes. So I think that helping students seeing, how, like, just how much of an impact it can have is really gratifying and nice.
How involved were you, or when did you get involved with the Hebron Soft?
Lilia reached our, I want to say it was my first ICC as well. So that must have been 2023, right? You said that's when we joined about.
Yes, yeah.
That seems right. I think Lilia was at ICC 2023. She's, I think, the chairwoman of Hebron Soft,
Yes.
which is an integration company slash an educational institution with their kind of sister company, Hebron IT Academy. So she was talking to Travis, and he was like, "Oh, this seems like a really interesting opportunity." So I started talking to her. We talked about how we can help, providing free course certification tests, that sort of thing. But other than that, I didn't have a ton like to do except for providing support, right? Like, I just provide support. I provide the tests. I'm like, we're here with licensing if you need it. But I know she worked really heavily also with Chris, our VP of sales, on
Mhm.
the room at the inn and making that like a public project on GitHub, which is very cool too. Like, just, their focus on the community and like helping nonprofits is really, really cool. I mean, one of my favorite programs also in our company is the Community Impact Program, which I think is so important because, again, we're providing free software just to help out organizations for no other reason than to help them out and let them learn Ignition.
Mhm.
There's not really any ulterior motives. So that's another question I get. The follow-up question from professors when I say it's free, they're like, but what's in it for you?
What's the
Like,
catch?
yes, what's the catch? In polite ways, usually, but I'm
Mhm.
like, there is no catch. Like, I mean, really, we really just want people to know Ignition. I'm not gonna like bill you in 6 months or anything like that. Don't worry.
So outside of IA and educational engagement program, what does Annabelle like to do? Third person time.
So I do have two kids at home, so it's a lot of, family time. But we love going on walks. I like getting out in nature, doing like hikes, that sort of thing. Very fortunate to live in the Sacramento area where we have like rivers and mountains and forest and all of that good stuff. Also love video games. I think we've talked about this before, but I'm a
Coral
big
Island.
video Coral Island, very obsessed with Coral Island right now. So love video games. Board games. My husband and I like to play board games. Magic the Gathering, also like all of those kind of board game fantasy type things are my jam.
So the title of this podcast is People Who Make Things. And for you, it's more of being the person who makes things happen. So, what does it look for English? What does it look like for you to be the person who makes things happen?
I'm always begging people to give me success stories. Like Monash High Powered Rocketry was such a cool one. I know we did a case study with Clovis Community College. Like always, like just tell me what you did, and I can try to shout it among the rooftops, like just to let everyone know because it's so important. Like you put all this work into it. Now let's tell everyone.
And my last question for you is if you have any advice for the younger generation, the future of this industry and beyond, what would it be?
Stay curious, stay whimsical, stay creative and imaginative, and try not to lose that passion, because that's really like that's not only what keeps you success, like helps you be successful professionally, but also just personally, like helps you keep your sanity. It's just like centering yourself and getting that peace of mind and all of that, so then you can thrive professionally.
Annabelle, thank you so much for chatting with me today about how you make things happen. And I just had so much fun just talking to you today, not just about inductive automation, about ignition, but just your passion about, education and the next generation and beyond, and just about, accessibility and, giving to the community and such. So thank you so much for being on this episode with me.
Of course, it was a pleasure. It was super fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's see. My tidbit of wisdom today. I usually have a tidbit of wisdom. Make sure to hydrate